Well, welcome back. With all your new knowledge, confident that your reloader is set up, something we covered in the last video, let's proceed to load our first batch of tactical pistol ammo. Then, that done, consider problems that might occur at the loading bench. More importantly, how to avoid and solve those problems. From that last video, we know we have the correct caliber cartridge casings. We have sorted them to make sure they're of good quality. We know they are clean. Our next step will be to lubricate them correctly. Place your cartridge cases in a flat container, then spray them with just a minimal amount of case lube, say a single squeeze or two for 50 to 100 cases. Then shake them around to distribute the lubricant. By the way, all of the major manufacturers make their own brand of lubricant, and all of them seem to work quite well. One caution though, you do want to avoid getting significant amounts of the lubricant into the cartridge case itself, which is why I lay the cases flat. Too much lubrication into the cartridge case changes the burning characteristics of your powder. Now dump those lubed cases into your case feeder. Yes, you can do without a case feeder, but this tool will keep your feed tube filled and will certainly speed up the entire process. Now we get serious. As in every one of my videos, it's time to insert the hold harmless agreement. By now, you know that reloading is intrinsically dangerous. Mistakes can kill you and kill and injure those nearby. You're continuing to watch this video. You're using the techniques and knowledge you find here. Is your agreement with me, your contract, that you hold me in no way responsible for anything, death included. You are responsible. If that's not an okay contract, please turn off this video. For those of you still with me, let's proceed. You know you've done all the hard work, the setup, the measuring, the adjustments. Now you're going to be surprised just how quickly you create good rounds and how you will continue to create good rounds, and lots of them for years to come. The first handle cycle, down and then back up, moves an empty cartridge case into station 1 on the shell plate. The second cycle pushes that case up into the sizing die, pops out that old primer, and then moves it to station 2. The final few inches of the handle travel, seating that primer ever so carefully. Another pull. The cartridge goes into the flaring tool and in the last few centimeters charges the case with powder. Oh, by the way, if some days have passed since you did your setup, remove the first few cases and weigh the powder charge just to be certain those first few are within your limits. Then put the charged case back in the shell plate. The next handle cycle checks the powder level, and at this point you will want to pick up a bullet in your left hand. To make that pickup quick and easy, I keep bullets on a soft surface rather than in some deep container. Another cycle moves the case into the seating die. Put the bullet on the case, cycle the handle again, and the bullet will be seated, then moved to the crimp station. Another cycle will create your crimp, and then the final cycle will drop the bullet into your hopper. Now here's what the whole process looks like in real time. Yes, I know I can go faster. I know you can go faster. But let's be really, really careful about that primer seating. You know, we haven't talked about it before, but this is the time to write everything down. At the end of each session, I inspect the rounds, box and label them. I want to know bullet weight, powder charge, kind of primer used. I want to know everything. By the way, you've probably noticed I have labels, not just on the cartridge box. They are everywhere. Labels will make you sleep better. Labels will help you avoid bad mistakes. You know, it's time for congratulations now. it's time for some fun at the range. And I must say, when you are there, it's okay to feel just a little bit self-satisfied, to have a little extra pride, maybe even show a touch of arrogance, because you are shooting your rounds you have carefully crafted yourself. It's important to say a word about plated bullets. Certainly plated bullets are cheaper than fully jacketed bullets, and the plating does protect you, at least in part, and your barrel, at least in part, from much of the lead problem. But plating is thin. It's about the thickness of a piece of printer paper, or in the thickly plated ones, 2 sheets of paper. To load plated bullets, you will need to increase your flare very slightly. If you don't, you will likely shave off a bit of the plating, which will be absolutely destructive of your accuracy and may also interfere with feeding into the chamber. Maybe more importantly, you must be careful about the crimping process. Crimp just enough. Here I've pulled one of the plated bullets to show you the right amount of crimp. Oh, by the way, having one of these impact bullet pullers is a valuable addition to your toolbox. Over-crimping will also ruin accuracy and will likely cut through the plating. To be certain that it's done just right, drop the loaded round into your barrel to see that it falls in nicely and also falls back out and makes that characteristic sound. But in the real world, nothing is perfect. What about the inevitable interruptions? You can almost guarantee that your reloading session will get interrupted. The phone may ring, we may need to refill powder, primers, add more cartridge cases, the kids or the spouse may need immediate attention, and we will have to pause. Here's the critical habit to develop. Always stop the process with the operating handle down and the ram up, and do so whether you're using this progressive machine or a single station press. Then you'll know exactly what you need to do when you return to the loading bench. Second, if you interrupt a pull for any reason, some resistance, do not carry your cycle to completion. For example, because you suspect that the primer is not seating correctly, it's best to stop and take every one of those cartridges out of the shell holders. Dump the powder from each case and start your process all over again. An interrupted cycle is a prescription for disaster because it's ever so easy to move a cartridge case through without a charge. At this point, I want to emphasize safety. I want to re-emphasize safety. First, you're dealing with smokeless gunpowder and explosive primers. You'll hear that smokeless powders don't really explode, they just burn really fast. And that's true if you're a physicist, but I guarantee your hands and face won't tell the difference if you negligently handle powder or primers. If you're uncomfortable handling these devices, if you can't store them safely, if you can't do your reloading well away from open flames, away from the kids, maybe you should simply buy loaded rounds. Life is just too short to hurt yourself and the others who live with you. You'll certainly notice that I'm wearing gloves. Handling lead and most of the solvents we use is quite simply unsafe. Not only do I wear gloves, I wash my hands carefully after the reloading session ends, and I bring nothing to eat or drink into the reloading area. You'll hear that you should use cold water for the wash to avoid, quotes, opening pores. That's non-scientific nonsense. Yes, you haven't seen my use of safety glasses, but each of these procedures is capable of putting shards of metal and hot gas into your eyes and face. Your face may heal, but eyes are simply not replaceable. Let's talk about important error possibilities that you need to know about, because no mechanical device is perfect. It and you will make mistakes, and it would be helpful to know how to handle at least most of those mistakes. Did you notice that I have labeled everything, all the parts of my reloading equipment, especially the critical components? And when I'm finished, I write down in my bound notebook what I have done, and I make a label for each and every box of cartridges. Problems will occur, and we will need to go back to our records to find out why. Just as importantly, really special loads will happen, generally as a pleasant surprise, and you'll want to go back to reproduce them. A bound notebook, labels, a little time, a critical part of reloading. Now an important point. I have no conflict of interest in recommending any of these devices, tools, equipment to you. I have no financial or any other relationship to any of the American manufacturers. The fact that I'm using a Dillon press in this video is simply it was the first progressive press available when I bought it 25 or so years ago. When you have finished for the day, empty your powder back into the original plastic container. Unless you're going to reload the next day, leaving the powder in the reloader's hopper will expose it to light, which causes it to deteriorate. And if it's humid in your area, possibly even to cake together, which will give you erratic powder charges. One of my underlying themes in these videos is my hope, my wish to bring scientific method, rather than expert opinion, especially mine, to the shooting sports. Each statement I have made can be tested if you trust your own powers of observation and you do so at the range. You should test each one, because the first rule of scientific method is to be skeptical, to question all authority. Again, let me emphasize, especially mine. When something you have observed doesn't make sense, when something an expert tells you doesn't pass the sniff test, perform your own tests and experiments. Believe your own findings, your own eyes, your own conclusions. I'll speak more about this in the fourth video, bringing scientific method to the shooting sports. Reloading for tactical needs and for plinking really is just this straightforward. All you need is the correct attitude, a certain carefulness, attention to detail, and this little technical knowledge. You'll soon develop the appropriate feel for each operation, but let me caution you, if you run into excessive resistance, don't keep pushing. That operating arm gives you tremendous mechanical advantage, and you will do serious damage if you don't first figure out the cause of your trouble. With your new technical knowledge that you've just learned here, some equipment, meticulous attention to detail, lack of distractions, a safe space, you'll make rounds that you can be proud of. Reloading can bring you real enjoyment. But a critical observation, one thing you cannot put a value on is the independence from outside interference that reloading your own ammunition will give you. In today's uncertain Second Amendment environment, you may value that independence highly, and I am fairly certain we will all value that independence even more highly in the future we're likely to live in. If you make comments or ask questions below and sign your real name, I'll do my best to answer them. If you liked the video, if you found it valuable, give it a thumbs up, please. If not, tell me how I can improve it, and I'll do my best to do so. In the next video, 301 Reloading, I'll show you how to make accurate and precise rounds for long-range rifle shooting and bullseye pistol competition.